Well, the National Football League continues to work toward fixing a culture that many say condones domestic violence. Now, during a meeting on Wednesday, league officials reportedly viewed a 2-minute video message about domestic violence, which will be shown to all league personnel. It features a former player who discusses, among other things, raising a generation of men who have the courage to call out other men who commit domestic violence. Well, joining me is Brandon Robinson. He's a sports writer at The Source magazine. Brandon, I got to ask you, it's a 2-minute video. I don't know what's in it. I don't know if you've seen it. I guess the question is, how effective do you think this video will be in changing what some say is a culture in the NFL? I
mean, it starts at the top, obviously, with the Commissioner Roger Goodell here in New York City meeting with the owners of all teams. First time that he's done that since the Ray Rice incident, and Adrian Peterson as well. I think it's a good start having Joe Ehrman, former NFL linebacker. But like you said, it's a culture. You show it to personnel, team personnel, but at the end of the day, team personnel aren't in people's homes. I'm not skeptical about it, but I do think that the NFL is in damage control mode right now.
Well, look, no one can argue the fact that there were a number of missteps by the NFL, and even Roger Goodell, although he claimed he didn't see the tape. I think that evidence would indicate otherwise.
Sure.
Obviously, they're making moves to amend all these wrongs or missteps that they've done in the past. I guess the question is, does this take Roger Goodell off the hook?
I mean, at least on paper, he's kind of off the hook. A report came out by the Associated Press yesterday that stated that 32% of NFL fans don't think that Roger Goodell should lose their job. Actually, the stats for Ray Rice are kind of worse. 43% think that he should not be allowed to play football again. So Roger Goodell is kind of easily weaseling his way out. I don't want to say weasel, but damage control is working in his favor. So I think the NFL's got an arduous task on their hands in trying to get the image back to where it was post all the domestic violence and child abuse scandals that have been on their docket these days.
All right, well, you talk about Ray Rice. Of course, Adrian Peterson here. The latest reports say now that the Vikings have severed their ties with him, that he will no longer be a part of that team and will come back. And I guess the issue here is, without all of the evidence still coming in, and there's a presumed guilty of before you're declared innocent.
Guilty until proven innocent. And also comparatively to the Ray Rice situation, there was a poll that the embattled star should be allowed to play if he's found not guilty. Of course, his trial date is set for December 1st, and he plans to plead not guilty. A guy that had a stellar image in Adrian Peterson, a guy that was active in community, but his image has been dwindling post an article that came out in a Minneapolis newspaper saying that there were some sex scandals with his foundation and stuff like that. So he's got a lot of housekeeping, as does Ray Rice, to kind of repair it. Look, it's difficult.
Brandon, look, as far as I'm concerned, and I'm certainly the first one in the front line against domestic abuse. It's deplorable, it's disgusting. But at the same time, I think perhaps, and some people are suggesting this, that there's this rush to judgment and blanketing the NFL and athletes with domestic abuse. I did some research on my own here. According to some U.S. Justice Department figures, they're about at the league's peak training camp, there are about 2,500 players in the league. And according to the statistics there, arrest rates among NFL players falls far below the national average. DWI at the top of the list, as well as domestic violence, under half the national average for other people. And I guess my question is, when you look at this and you see the media going full force against these athletes, one would suggest that after seeing these figures that this is quite unfair.
It's unfair. But to go back to a point, you and I have gone back and forth about this. It still goes back to the point that the NFL is a billion-dollar organization, and you've got million-dollar workers that represent that organization. And when guys act up, it has a residual effect on sponsors. It has a residual effect on whether or not folks will come to games. At the end of the day, it counts to money. Green, as you know, is the universal language.
No, absolutely. I mean, the ratings are still up, but I just say once again, domestic violence is not anything to be condoned in any form or fashion, but just to demonize a whole league of players, especially when they're predominantly African American, I think is something to be questioned.
It's difficult, and it's nothing we can solve in 30 seconds or less.
And we got to end it right there.
Right there.
Brandon, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
All right.